Do you genuinely think she is bad, or is it just a bad game? I genuinely believe Briar is a weak champion. That said, she's not weak in silver, which is where she's bounced around. But for high MMR, I do not think she's a good champ, no. I will say that, like, I don't think she's, like, useless. Like, you can be really good at Briar. You can get good at Briar, basically. Like, you can get good at Briar and pop off. Because she, like, tests your decision-making really hard, right? She, like, does a hard test in your decision-making, so you can be good at Briar, but, like, the question is, why put in all that effort when you could just play something else and, get similar results for less work? And so, it's not like she's useless at high MMR, it's just, it's a lot of work to actually be really, really good at her at high MMR in a way that, like, you don't have to, you know, put in that same amount of work to be good at other characters. The reason Briar is the way she is because she has a 52% win rate in low MMR. That is where she is balanced. So she's not a very strong character in high MMR because she has to be balanced around low MMR. And so me playing her is a slight disadvantage. So if you want to understand Briar's balance, this is the junglers in the game, and Briar is here, right? This is for the average player, right? So Briar is a very high win rate jungler. She's the second highest win rate standard jungler in the game, in fact, for lower MMRs. And because of that, like, that's what she needs to be balanced around. And it means that when you get to, say, higher MMRs, like Emerald, she's going to drop down and not be as good up here. Like, you know, she's kind of middle of the pack here. So 53 is like 51 in Emerald, which is like, you know, that's still a high win rate, right? But when a character has less agency, win rate doesn't necessarily mean everything. Again, though, I don't think she's actually truly bad. Like, I think the way I would describe Briar is she is a lot of work. She requires that you have perfect decision-making. And if you don't, then you die. And so if you do have perfect decision making, she can actually be like very, very powerful, even up to the higher MMRs. But if you don't have perfect decision making, you should be playing characters that don't care if you don't have perfect decision making. It's like, bad at making decisions, play Echo, push R, you're fine. Bad at making decisions, play Kha'Zix, things go bad, push R, you're fine, right? Bad at making decisions, pick Lilia, run away, right? Like, Briar basically says if you're bad at making decisions, you cannot leave, you will die. And so she pushes that skill test really, really, really hard. Which means that if you're not good at it, she's gonna feel kind of weak. Especially when people are like good at playing against you. The 3% pick rate makes her win rate a good statistic. I mean, the 3% pick rate just means she's kind of average popularity, right? What does agency mean? Agency, the way I describe agency when I talk about champions, is it is the ability of your champion to react to bad situations or push their own advantage, one of the two. So agency, a classic example of agency is a dash, right? Ezreal is a very high agency character, partially because of his E, which is a teleport, right? And having a dash means that when you see someone who's about to die, you can guarantee they die by dashing on them. And having a dash means that when you are about to die, you can guarantee you don't die by dashing away, right? So a dash is an example of something that gives you a lot of agency. Briar has dashes. The thing is her dashes can only be used to go in. And so they lose half of the agency, which is the agency of using them to dash away or dodge a skill shot. Briar's dashes are not good at dodging, not nearly as good at dodging skill shots or dodging away. And so they like don't give her the same amount of agency as a character like, say, Lucian's dash might. So yeah, so to me, like basically the idea of agency is the idea that this character that you're playing, when something bad happens to them, they can say, no, I don't want that bad thing to happen to me. And they can outplay. And then when they outplay, the bad thing doesn't happen and they're in a good spot, right? Many characters in League have some degree of agency, right? And agency doesn't just have to be a dash. Like, as an example, Something that increases agency is attack range. One of the changes we did years ago to make Jinx a higher agency character was to give her 25 attack range on her rockets. And the reason that increases Jinx's agency, despite her being an immobile AD carry, is she can space team fights better and be safer as she's shelling you with rockets, which gives her more control over the situation. It also means subtle things, like she's 25 units further from your skill shots. And that matters, because if she's 25 units further from your skill shots, it's all that much easier to dodge, right? And so that's the idea of agency, is like, can my character see situations and put them into their own control? Can my character see something bad and say, I'd rather this didn't happen to me, and do something about it? Can my character see something good and say, I want this to happen, and force their will and ensure it happens? Those are examples of agency. And certain characters have a lot of it, and certain characters don't have as much. A character like Lux, as an example, has much less agency than a character like AugustUwU, despite the fact that she has, like, good range. Like, Lux is a totally viable, powerful champion, but there's a lot of situations where Lux gets jumped on and she's just like, guess I die, right? Whereas comparatively, AugustUwU has a number of situations where when he's jumped on, he's like, guess I wind wall it, guess I dash away, guess I turn it on you because I'm AugustUwU, right? Just depends. Would voice chat help in the aspect of guiding your team to actually have a chance to outplay? Yes, of course. Communication would make it a lot easier to coordinate, like, duh, right? The reason we don't have voice chat has nothing to do with, like, we don't think it's good for communication. Voice chat is great for communication. The problems with voice chat come from players abusing each other, right? Like, the problems with voice chat aren't about communication. They're about players like, the problems with voice chat are, like, about players treating each other like subhuman. Like, that's the problems that arise from voice chat. And compounded with the fact that voice chat is significantly harder to moderate, right? All that said about voice chat, I think League should have voice chat. Over the years, I've been kind of in different camps, but at now point, I'm firmly in the camp of League should have voice chat, with one caveat, and that is only if we find effective ways to moderate it. But assuming we can find effective ways to moderate it, which I believe we can, I think League should have voice chat. Like, the reason I think League should have voice chat, by the way, is probably different than some of you. To me, it's not actually about the competitive side of it, although the competitive side is obviously valuable. It's about the human side of it. It's about, like, being able to play a game with other people who you view as people. Now, again, part of that comes, the negative human side of that also comes with it, which is why you need effective moderation tools. Isn't there good moderation of voice chat in Valorant? I would argue, from what I've seen online, Valorant's voice moderation is not good enough yet. I'm not saying they're doing a bad job, but some of the stuff I've seen happen in regards to abuse of certain groups of players, it doesn't seem like our moderation is effective at, has been historically effective at preventing it. So, like, as an example, a very common experience I hear from women is like, this man treated me terribly because I was a woman, and then I got banned for talking back to him, right? And then the man keeps on treating people poorly, right? And then goes on other accounts, right? So it's questions like, how often are they hardware banning people? What is the punishment for abusing someone versus the punishment for standing up for yourself and, you know, fighting back, things like that. And so I'm not saying Valorant's doing a bad job in any way, more just saying that, like, it seems like there's still some inconsistencies in voice moderation that have created, like, fairly native experiences for a lot of certain specific groups of players who play the game. They have hardware bans for voice chat. With Vanguard, we are able to do hardware ban people, but just because we were able to hardware ban people does not mean we hardware ban people or do it enough.